Hi, everybody. Well, I want to bring this out because I was reading this on John Heald's page for Carnival Cruise Line brand ambassador and everything, and this is one of the saddest things that he has to do when he has to tell people there's nothing that he can do. So, the way it goes for most cruise lines in the world is you have a certain amount of time that you put your deposit down that holds your cruise until final payment day. On some cruises, it's 90 days. On some, it's 120 days. So 3 months or 4 months. And it varies because if you go on a world cruise, there's different times because it's a much more expensive and much more, they want to make sure people are actually going and not just holding a cabin for like $100 for a year and then they try and sell a world cruise cabin. It's really hard. But the normal, let's go with the 90-day process. So before the 90-day final cutoff payment, you can usually call a cruise line and request them to change your cruise. Something happened, there was a death in the family, something, can we please change the cruise to another date? And normally, the cruise lines will work with you. Some will charge a nominal fee to do that, but it's nothing compared to losing the cost of your cruise. That's the normal procedure. Now, after the final payment date is, they do not. They will not now switch you to other cruises. So that money would be lost now. There's a penalty involved. Sometimes it's just the deposit. So if you put a $100 deposit down on a reduced deposit sale, that's what you would lose. And you can still, but then there's another date after that. That would be like 20 days after that. And at that point, you would lose 25% of your cruise. And then the next date is 50%. The next date is 75%. And then there's a final cutoff where you would lose 100% of your money. And John Heald has been explaining that he gets very distraught and feels so helpless when people contact him, pleading and begging with him that this happened to them. And they can't get their money back because it's after final payment date. There's a death in the family. They lost their job. There was a fire in their house. Something happened, right? Something catastrophic happened. And they didn't have travel insurance to get their money back. And there's nothing he can do. At that point, it's the policy of the cruise lines. And if they did that for every single person who does that, first of all, they'd have to investigate every single one that it was actually true and that was actually happening. And you know how much manpower that could take up because everybody would try it, right? Oh, I lost my job. Please give me my money back. Life doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And that's why I keep saying travel insurance, travel insurance, travel insurance, right? Unless you're okay with losing that money. If you're okay with losing that money, that's okay, you're done, that's fine. But if that money is like a huge chunk of your savings and a huge chunk of your income, get that travel insurance because just any incident that happens, you can't get it. And he says he gets these messages all the time about these situations and, he feels completely helpless. And John Heald is like the face of Carnival. And, he can do certain things, like he can get some flowers to your cabin for an anniversary if you request it to surprise your loved one. Or he can, add a cake. He can do things like that, right? He can do little things like that, and he does that often, and I find that amazing, that there's somebody out there from a cruise line that's actually reading. Well, he has more than just himself. He has somebody else helping him with the comments because comments are a ton, and he gets a ton of messages, and he can't get through them all by himself. That's his, I guess, his full-time job pretty much. but he does get out and he does these things for people. But there is a limit to what he can do, and a limit to anybody. A travel agent out there is under the same thing, right? If you were to call myself and say, you know, it's a month before the cruise, something happened, and we don't have insurance. Can you get us our money back, or can you shift it to another? Very rare, very extremely rare I can get anything like that done. Now, there are times when I happen to be in a place and a contact is around that I can personally go to and say, look, can you do me a favor? But I cannot do that favor and ask a favor every week, right? I cannot step, you know, and call in favors every single day. There's a limit. And only in extreme situations can I even attempt something like that. And it puts you in an awkward, you want to help people as much as possible. But every single booking I do, I put insurance on it. And then if the people ask me to remove the insurance, I say, are you sure? And that I get it in writing, remove the insurance. Because I don't like to ever have to be put in this situation, right? I want to make sure that if the worst thing happens, you can get your money back. And John feels the exact same way. It's an expense, it's adding more money onto your trip, and sometimes it's very expensive, the insurance. Insurance is going up, but man, the time you need it and you don't have it is the time you're begging somebody to help. And sometimes, just sometimes, there's nothing they can do, and boy, it does make everyone feel just horrible. So please, get insurance.